box of the Bushwacker Fender flares. So I'm going to be putting these on my Jeep Wrangler JKU, and so it is, and the part number on here, I don't know if you can see that or not. Drop it down a bit, is 10918-07. That's the style of the one I have, Bushwacker. And so I'm going to try these out. I like my Fenders now, but I got these for a good deal, so I figure I'll give it a try. And let's pick it out. Figure to do an open box with you guys. Let's see here, they got them closed up pretty good. Let's see here. All right. Sure. They're almost like they're all interlinked with each other. I'm going to turn the box over and pour them out. Okay. I think that was the easiest route to go. You guys can see those. So we have the Fender players here. Take them out and see what kind of quality we're talking about in the product. They're all four for the front and back. And of course these are plastic, which I'm fine with that. I know those metal ones, aluminum ones are really expensive. I like plastic because it's forgiving as long as it's not cold out. So here we go. Looks pretty good. This one comes with the, I don't know if you can see that, but the indentation here, right here, so that the side marker lights will go on there. All right. So we have four of those. That's one of the front ones. And let's take a look at one of the back ones. The back ones are the thinner ones. There we go. Seems to be equally as good as well. Good finish. Now my plan, I'm thinking about having these sent off to my paint guy and have him paint them the same color of the Jeep, of my Wrangler. So that's why I'm debating on right now. I don't know if I want to invest too much into it, and it turns out I don't like them. And then you got your box of hardware down here. Now I know this is a pretty big job putting these in, so we'll see how it all goes. I'll do another YouTube on these for installation, but I'm going to be doing the wheel liners at the same time. At the same time, I'm replacing them over to the metal ones. So, all right, guys. So now we're in the office. The things that we can do indoors rather than doing it outside, especially since it's cold outdoors. So we have our fenders in here, and I brought them in a little earlier just to help get them up to room temperature. And the things that we're going to need in here will be, this is that kind of, I guess you want to call it weather stripping that goes between the fender and the body of the Jeep. And we also have the LED side marker lights too as well, which is pretty cool, is that they, instead of just raw wire connections, you actually have the the push pins up in there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'll pull one out. So got that there. All right. And we also have the tools we're going to use. This, some wire strippers, and also have a 9mm socket, not a deep one. We don't want a deep one on what we're going to be using it for. Got two extensions. These are the 1/4 inch, and a little ratchet, and a lighter. And although the lighter I don't think we'll need now, I think we're going to need that later. And a Phillips head. And then from the package that came with it, we're going to use these right here, these little screws right here, and little nuts with the nylon in there, locking nuts. And for those lights that I showed you, we're also going to use these as well. So that's the end that will get pushed in, and the other end will be going onto the wire, because we're going to snip off the plug that's on the Jeep, and we're going to insert the wire in there, clamp it around there, and this is where the lighter will come into play, because that pink that you see right there, that's really heat shrink. So when you heat that up, it'll create a seal around the wiring. We're still going to wrap some electrical tape around there anyway, just to make sure that no moisture get in there over time. So first thing we're going to want to do is take this right here. So on here you have this tape here, and you also have that tape on the inside. Yeah, I'm sure you can see that tape on the inside. Alright, so we're not going to touch the one on the outside yet. That's for later. For now, we're going to be worried about what's in here, because we're going to use that part to put on our Fender. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to feed this around. Hopefully you can see that. We'll feed that around on there like that. Only on the top part that's visible, not the underside part that's going to be more in the wheel well. But this is going to go on there like that. Not down the part that kind of bulges out, you see that? But on this part over here. And the tape in there is meant to help hold it on. So what you're going to want to do is first start to pull off 2 to 6 inches worth to help you begin. Like that. And then you're going to feed it in. Just like that. Hopefully you can see that. And then as you pull it around, you can pull a bit more off. And keep putting the next bit on there. Pushing it on. Holding it on for a few seconds to let the tape set, stick to the actual fender. And you're going to keep going all the way around to the other side. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do now. cut off just before that hump. Back to make sure I have good adhesion all the way around. Just pushing it all up in there. I think that's it for that part. Now that we have that on, we're going to move into installing the LED light. Alright, so for the two front fenders, you're going to have this recess down here for your side marker lights, and what I'm doing now is getting it ready to install it. Take it out of the package and just getting the wires already. So there we go. So now the wires are going to come through this part down here, and that's why we need the extension, because it's a pretty decent distance between there and where you need to actually insert the bolts, the nuts. But you got the 3 holes up here, the 1 for the wires and the 2 for the bolts. So we're going to push the wires through the middle, like so. And see that right there. Now we're going to put the screws in, and we'll do one at a time. We'll have one going like that, and it's a Phillips head. That's why we had a Phillips screwdriver. And then we're going to take one of the locking nuts, and I'm going to get our extension. Alright, so we're going to take our 2 extensions. That way we know we have enough distance to get all the way through. And we're going to put our 9mm on, and we're going to slide our locking nut in there. Alright, and now we really just want to have our Phillips ready on the tip of that, and then we want to fish it through until we have contact. I think that may be contact. Yep, that's contact. I'm a righty, so trying to turn a Phillips screwdriver with my left hand is impossible. So there we go, switched up. Alright, that's a little bit tightened down. And now I'll move on to the next one. So I'm going to do the same thing. Put a Phillips in there. Take one of the locking nuts and put it inside of here. And then I'm going to fish it underneath again. Put my Phillips in and fish for it. I think blocking things, so make sure the wire isn't between you and it. Difficult. Yep, lost my screw. I didn't realize it, but I was already successful. But so now I'm going to actually tighten it down. Now I'm going to put some eyes in there on it so I can see myself actually getting right on the screw. And then I'm going to hold it on the screw, I mean on the nut. And now I'm going to hold it from the other end. Alright, and then I'm going to go do the other one. Get some eyes on it. That way I know I'm being successful. And in hindsight too, if I would have put just maybe a little piece of paper in there with the nut to make sure it didn't come out, I probably could have looked at it and went in there while I was looking at it and just hit the screw right away, rather than fishing around looking for it blindly. So I'll do that on the next one. But there we are, and we have our wires right here as well. So our wires are already ready now. The LED is on. So now I have one down, 3 to go, and then we'll be ready to take these out and get them mounted up. Alright, got the stripping on the other front fender, and now I'm about to do the light on there as well. And after these two are done, I'm going to start to move on to the 2 rear fenders. And now I'm going to start on the rears. Don't have lights there. Putting on the stripping. Alright, so we're in the garage now, getting ready to mount these Bushwacker fenders, all 4. I wanted to have them painted the same color as the Jeep, But after talking with some different paint guys, given that this is textured, they let me know that without a ton of work, the paint just wouldn't stick. It just doesn't have anything to stick to with this texture. So we advised just not to do it. So I took their advice because they're professionals, and I'm sure, if I wanted to pay a ton of money, I probably can get someone to do it. They probably do a good job, but I don't want to invest too much into that. But these will go in place of the factory ones over here. They're roughly the same width. I'm not big on these little skinny fenders. I think they look weird, almost like they don't have any fenders. When you look at the Jeep from the front or from the back, it just looks odd to me when you don't have fenders on there. So I'll be going with these here. I like it because they will come straight out. So then you won't have the lip here as well. So I'll give the impression that you actually have a higher lip than you actually do. So that's what I like about it. You see over here, got the other rim over here. This is the fifth row. I just had this mounted today. I have a 20-inch rim on here now. So these are 22s with 37-inch tires. What I have for a fifth wheel now is a 20-inch rim with 35s on it. It's a much smaller tire. So I ordered another rim and another tire. I had it mounted today, and that's going to be going with the slant back tire carrier by Snip that I've been modifying and mounting on here for the summertime. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe so you can see, so you can follow along on that whole build out. So we're going to start off by removing all the fenders. That will be step one, and we'll go from that. It's going to be the first time installing these, so we're going to be doing it bit by bit. And so the first thing is just to get all these fenders off. Alright, so to start off with, what I want to do is, I want to show you what I'm going to use. I just got this little $5 tool here from Menards, from the hardware store, that'll pull those plastic push type pins out of there. I got my 10mm socket over here, and in case the 10mm, there's enough room, I got this to help get those bolts out of there quicker with the 10mm. And what I'm also doing too as well, I'm also jacking her up just to give me a bit of extra room up in here to work on. So I'm just going to jack it on up, and then we'll start working. Alright, so I forgot I had my rock lights up in here, so I ended up getting some of these to cut the zip ties, and then I have to trace it back to where it's plugged in at. So I'm going to remember that along the way as well. And right now I see, I don't know if you can see, I see one bolt here, I see a bolt here, a bolt here, and I'll find more as I go along, I'm sure. I think there's 6 total bolts in here that I need to get out. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3 so far, so that means I think I have to find 3 more. We'll see. So I'll start off getting those first 2 out. I think I may have room for power. Let's see here. And one of the cool things, and also besides for putting on the fender, the new fenders, I'm also going to be doing the Fender Liners in here as well. So for the front, I have a front one. So for the front, I won't have to reuse this liner in here because I'm going to be using the aftermarket metal liners. Alright. The one that came out over here is kind of a long bolt. It's more of a, it takes in a screw, okay, or a nut. Let's see here. That's 1, 2, 3. I think I'm seeing some push pins that I need to deal with. So that was quite easy. There's one. There's another. Let's see here. I think that may be one right there. There's another one. Alright. And there's a power plug for, so you have your side marker light over here, so there's a power plug for that, so we have to remember to get that out of there as well. Yeah. I think it would be more like there's one back here. And not really on. Here's one right here. I'll find you. And that's that one right there. Alright. Now I'm just pulling on the panels to see if it's loose. If I feel any resistance, that means there must probably be another pin somewhere around. I guess maybe I'm going to go ahead and give her a try to see if she's ready to pop off or not. I'll move you guys back. Alright, let's try it. The bevel in there is a 12mm bolt. And let's see if this right here will set up give me good access to it. Now, I think there's actually a nut on the other side of it. And how they would have done that, I have no idea. Well, I got it out though. That was it. So I'm not sure how many more bolts they may have put up in here. I'll find out. Yep, like there's bolts all throughout this thing. So I am going to be at work here. Alright, so I got the bolts off from this end and from this end. And I'm not sure if there are any here in the middle. So I can't just pull on it in case there's a bolt in there. That could be damage. Got over here. There's just one more left. I'm trying to determine if it's a bolt or if it's a clip. bolts. Alright, so chances are, if your fender has never been taken off, you wouldn't have to go through this. You wouldn't have bolts, you would have the plastic clips, or it's just going to snap off. But for me, I have bolts. So now, what I'm doing over here is for this right here. So there's a plug up in here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. There's a plug right here. Just gotta push it in to release it. Got a zip tie over there. Alright. And that's it. That's all. Alright, now that we have the front fenders off, let's work on these back fenders. Hopefully this will be less complicated than the others, but now I know that I better look out for possible bolts. And I know the Jeep was repainted, same color, just repainted, and I'm assuming that's why they took off the fenders. That's why it would have been a previous owner before me. So let's get started on this. Alright, just like the front one, I'm going to take this plastic trim piece off first. You most likely don't have this. This is something that I added as an aftermarket piece. And having it jacked up helps out to give me that extra room to get these pieces off. And tell her don't do that. Alright, so now I'm going to try to find whatever bolts or push tabs that I can and get them out. I'm looking in there to see if there are any bolts, and no bolts back there, and it doesn't look like there's any bolts on this end. So I'm going to give it a try, see if I can pull her out. Get her off. I just got to get the liner out of there. There we go. Not that bad. Much better than the first one because they never removed this one when they repainted it. But they did remove the front one. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove these factory clips out of here. Any ones that are still in there. Throw a plastic piece out, it'd be more work than taking the actual fender off. Let's see about these. Alright, so before putting on the new Bushwacker fenders, first thing I want to do is put in the new Fender Liners. See, I've already put the two pieces together, and I've already put the plate in the back. So you can see I painted it the same color as the Jeep. That was the original color, a brushed metal. So I ended up just painting it, and so now I think that looks a lot better. And so essentially it's going to go up in there. There are two mounting points right here that will do the initial hole. This cable over here is for my winch, so I'm going to get that out of the way a bit, and I want to be able to have access to my plug too as well, so I have to make sure of that. So essentially it's going to go something like that there. See, am I blocking it? Something like that. I think that's going to look pretty hot. So, you got the two holes up there for screws. There's a hole right here, it's already, and I think I'm going to have to drill here, drill there. Yeah, and probably drill here too as well. So I think those are the drill points. So, let's get a couple of bolts. Get these up in there. Let's see here, I think I have a couple of the bolts right here. I think these will do it. I think those are too big. Maybe these right here. Yeah, I think these are the ones. The ones that were in there are quite ugly. So I may end up getting some black ones and replacing them eventually. Alright. Trouble comes in at attempting to keep this plug visible at the same time. The short cable. don't like that because the cord will be pushing up against this metal, and I'm sure that will eventually chafe and cause a short. So I'm going to probably cut that wire and splice it in a longer wire. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'd rather have it out here, and that way I can reinforce it with some type of sleeve around it to make sure that any chafing won't cut that wire, won't slice into the wire. All right. Wrong one. And so these other mounting points here and here, where we'll have to drill into it, is meant to give it that stability. And instead of using with the hardware they provided, I ended up getting some self-tapping screws, and I'm going to use that instead. Alright, so I got my 8mm here, and I have my self-tapping screws, and I'm going to attempt to see if this works out better with self-tapping screws. Let me bring you guys over a bit in this direction. Alright, so I'll take this, and hopefully this is powerful enough, or I may have to get out an actual drill, a heavy-duty drill. We'll see. Starting to penetrate. Put a little extra. You won't get at the hole. And then too much there. It looks like a drilling it is. Alright, try to drill. I think I'll put a bolt in first, the screw in first before trying to set the other one. I don't want to have it off-centered once it's time to start bolting them down. Alright, and now I'm going to work on this one right here. I'm going to see if I can use this to kind of set a little divot there to help my drill stay centered. I don't think that's going to work. Haha. I have a punch somewhere, but I'm not sure where it's at. There's one, there's two, and I believe we may have two on the other side. See that? Put one right here. It's not quite lining up. I don't like that part. Push the lever back a bit and get the drill. Put my finger behind there to make sure there's no wires or anything I want to drill into. Love this angle drill. And now I just need to get one more of the self-tappers. Alright, so I have my self-tapping here. Line it up with the hole. I'm going to make the hole a little bigger with my step-up bit. Finally got it. Now it's pretty rock solid up in there. I think it looks pretty good. That's the only one I know I'm not going to get on. It's actually about a finger's width in between there. So I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Between this hole and there. That's not going to get back there. So I'm not sure what that's all about. Alright, so I'm currently putting on the brackets that hold the fender on. I am taking a couple of the bolts out in order to drop this down a bit because I'm going to need to be able to get behind these holes in order to get the bolts behind there to hold those on. So I needed to drop that side down a bit out. And also, I got to put these clips on here that goes into these holes here. Not these holes. These holes right here, these bigger holes here are for the bolts. You see that? Those are for the bolts. But you also have these holes down here, these smaller ones, that requires these clips to go onto them. So these will receive the screws. So what you got to do is that's the back side with the little lip on it, the little ramp. You can see that little ramp down there. That's the back side. So that part has to go on there like that. And the thing of it is, there are a lot of let's see. Now you can see it on here. I already cut them off, but on the back of these, there are the remnants from them drilling into the plastic, the extra material. So I had to take my blade and actually just, trim those off. So before putting these strips on. So I'm going to put all these on. It's not bad, it's just time consuming, all of these things. It's a lot of hardware on this thing, and it's probably going to take me a couple of weekends to get done with it. So I'm already ready to leave the Jeep in the garage for the next several days. Line those holes up. Got 1, 2, so I got them all. And then just from here, we'll go up here like that. Alright? So the bolt holes are there, 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 and there. And there. Those are the bolt holes. We got 5 bolt holes. So each one, with the hardware come with it. I have a bolt, a washer, and a lock nut. With the as such. So to help me out here, what I'm doing, I'm taking my pliers and I'm putting the nut in there, like such, alright, and then I'm getting my bolt and my washer ready, and this is the way I'm going to do it, because you only got a finger's amount of lift up in here. So that's why you got to put it on here in order to get the bolt up in there, like that. Alright? And then at that point, I put my bolt in there. I got the nut already back there. And then I screw it in. Yet, because I want to put the others in. So we're going to do that all the way along here until we have them all in, and then we'll tighten them down, because there's a, let's see if I can show you on this one here. Nope, I can't show you on this one right here. There's a bit of a lip on behind each one, on one of these to accommodate this, so I want to make sure to have it sitting up high on this lip right here. I don't want it down low, I want it up high against that lip. Alright, so now if these are in, you don't tighten the bolts all the way down till it's completely up against there. You get them down nice and snug to the point where they're tight and you can't spin them, but they're not, all the way torqued all the way down. I think it's because you don't want to distort this, because remember it's only plastic. Alright, so now this right here, you just put it on, and then you just take your push pins that comes with it and put it in there. Yeah, I think there must be some bigger ones. That's going to be these type right here. Get that one all the way in, but that's basically it right there for the bracket. And at this point, I think it's supposed to be ready to receive the fender. Let me tell you. All right, so I have the fender liner back in now. I'm putting another one of these little clips on here to receive a screw, which goes on this one right here. This piece that sticks out. So I'll preset that on there, roughly put it, oops, I think I put it in upside down because the screw is going to come in from the bottom. So that means the part with that little lip back here needs to be on top. So I'll put it approximately in the middle there. And then I'm just going to do a dry fit now. I'm not going to actually install it on. There's a few other little things I want to do. So, if everything goes right, these channels right here should lock right into these. And this bar right here actually goes inside the fender. That plate not being butt up against there is causing me an issue right now. So there's a bit of a gap up here. Remember, because this part of the fender liner isn't all the way against there, it's actually causing me an issue. So I may have to do some trimming on that fender liner. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark it off where it is blocking it, which is here, and it comes around here to there. So that is what is blocking it. So everything behind here, metal-wise, I'm going to have to cut off. I'm not sure why it sticks out that far, but that's going to be coming off. Alright, so where you see the red chalk line head here, that's where I need to trim off at, so that the new fender will be able to go past this in order to seat properly. So I'm taking my angle grinder and I'm going to trim that off. Alright, so I have it cut off, and where did it go? Ah, there it is right there. You see it? It's not that bad. I try to clean it up a bit and painted the exposed metal as well. So, and given where it is, also you won't really be able to see it no matter what anyway. So, but it came out pretty good. So hopefully I cut it right along the right edges so that it's a good fit. Alright, so now is the point where we're going to actually start to snip the connectors for the side marker lights, and that's where these will come in. So you're going to have 4 of those, and we're going to use those, so we're going to need to snip the connector off on here. So I'm just going to go on in and snip those off, keeping as much wire as possible for myself. Alright, I wish I had more to pull out, but it looks like that's all there is up in there, but that should work. And then I'm going to get my wire cutters from somewhere and cut some of that wire off. Alright, so now it's time to trim back some of these wires. My wire strippers don't work the best, so I'm just going to go old school. The real old school, me put my teeth on there and then just biting it off, but I'm a little bit more civilized now. Now I'm just going to cut back some of the coating so I can pull it off a bit. Like that. Now I have some exposed, and I'll do it for the other side, and we'll get that connected. Alright, I'm going to put it on and crimp it down. Pretty easy, but because there is very little room for me in here, it's hard to get my crimper up in there in order to apply pressure. Alright, there we go. 2 down, 2 to go on the other side. Alright, over here we need to put in the Fender Liner. So to trim it down, so it's before with the old Fender on, it stuck out to about here. A few inches past there to accommodate the width of the fender. But for these, we won't need that, so we just need the Fender Liner to end at this arc. So what we're going to do is, we're going to have our chalk, or our crayon. We're going to put the Fender Liner back up in there. And we're going to take some push pins. You can see those. And we're going to stick them in only partial way, because this is going to be temporary for now. So we want to put them in, but only temporarily. So what we have 3 holes. We have one over here, and one back here. So we're going to put the Fender Liner up and put the push pins in and hold it in place. Remember, you're not putting it in all the way, you just want to put it in enough to hold it, because you're going to be pulling it back out. now that that's up in there, now what I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to draw a line along here. You can see that. I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to put the camera down. But I'm going to draw it along here, and then when I get over here, right over here, you see that this kind of goes back, so I'm going to follow it back in there and then come around and out. So that's the plan. Now I'm going back in that little cove back there to follow it down. Alright, so now I can take it back off and then we can trim it. Alright, hopefully you guys can see my red line. And you can see where I went back into that little cove, the way it kind of deviates off there, all the way to the end. When we get to these holes up here, we're going to keep the hole. You're going to cut around here and keep the hole and continue on. You don't cut the hole off. You're going to need that. And I'm going to use my little tool shop Dremel to cut it out. Alright, before that, I want to make sure to tighten it down. then I just switch over to my angle iron, angle cutter. Alright, there we go. All trimmed down, and I believe ready to mount. Alright. Alright, so now we're going to take our push pins and put the liner in. Third one back here. Alright. I think everything looks pretty good. You want to look to see how everything looks to you. Should be about flush with it. That's where you want it. And then we're going to put a push pin in this one. And this one is going to need to be a little bit lower down, just simply because of extra hole. Just take the 5/16 drill and drill it a little further down on that hole in order to get that nice and flush up against there. Alright, so I'm going to use my step-up drill bit in order to make that hole a little bit bigger. And we'll put that up there, and this is on plastic, so it shouldn't take too much. There we go. And then I'll take push pan, put it in there, and I'm going to take another push pan and put it in over here. So our liner is up, and now we're ready to put the brackets on here. Alright, so on the passenger side over here, install the Fender Liner and put the brackets on. These are the easiest ones to put on because you're just taking the three pieces and putting them on with push pins. No screws, no bolts, anything, just push pins. So it's very simple. Now at this point right here, we should be ready to put a fender on. Now if you remember earlier when we were indoors, we applied that seal to the new fender. And there's tape on there that will allow for it to stick on here. Alright? So to make sure there's no issue with that, I'm taking some rubbing alcohol and just going over the points where that tape would actually stick to make sure there's no dust or grease or anything there that will prevent it from sticking, adhering to it properly. Doing that, and here is the fender, and there's that red line, that's the tape that we're going to be sticking off. I'm just going to go over it around here too, just to make sure to get any dust off that could possibly fall up in there while we're working on this. Alright, so first I think before getting started, We're going to pull back about an inch or two worth of this, and we're going to have it pointing outwardly like that, so that when we have it on there we have the ability to pull it, but we don't want to take it off more than that at this point. So let's try to see if we have a good fit. If so, then we can start applying it. Looking good, looking good. All right, I think that's good. We have our holes down here. Remember those clips we put onto those brackets? We have the holes down here, and hopefully they will all line up. I'm going to look for a nail or something to go in there to help try to line those clips up that's on those brackets with the holes that are in here before we apply the screws in there. And we're not going to do the tape until we actually successfully get all our screws in. Alright, so I'm going to take my flashlight, and I found something nice and small. I'm going to go into the hole and try to line it up with those clips to make sure they're all there. It may be that I may need to pull this back off to reset them, but basically when you slide this on, this can actually push those clips out of place. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go through each one, look for it, and get it lined up, take it back off if we need to, reset it, and figure it out. Alright, so I realized that there was one piece that I forgot to cut off. See that? Right here? I was supposed to go around that to cut that off. So I'm going to do that now at this point in time. You see how it sticks out there? So I'm going to trim that off. Alright, now that we have all the screws in, there's one there, there's another one there, and they go up around. Wasn't that bad, but it definitely is time consuming. And now we're going to start pulling this off, and at the same time as we're pulling that off, we're going to take our tool here and we're going to get it up underneath there and push it up tight against there. Not leaving that, we want to get up underneath it. We'll figure it out. But we're going to start pulling that off like that. And we're going to use the tool just to make sure this is pushed up against there. It's actually up there pretty tight up against there. So that part's good. I have to straighten that out. Use that flat-wise, like that instead. Now we'll come over here and we'll pull that out that way. Alright. I think that looks pretty good so far. I like that. Alright. Well, that's two down. Well, really one down, because we're pretty close to putting this one on. So the only thing we really need to do now is bring the fender in. We want to attach the fender. Well, of course, we want to clean this up. We already have all of our clips up underneath here already in good spots. We didn't over torque these down. I actually backed them out a little bit just to make sure. So we're going to put our Fender Liner in last, because we have the metal one, because I want to have easy access to these. They're so short that I wouldn't have easy access to them if I put the fender liner in now. So let's get started on that. Alright, so now we're back to our front fender on the passenger side. And the first thing I'm going to do is take a little rubbing alcohol and go ahead and clean up the areas where we want the mating to happen with the tape. So, clean that up real good. Alright, so it's going to be kind of difficult because these again are so short. I think typically it should have been longer. And then from a Bushwacker standpoint, there's the wires they give us barely stick out as well. So no one was generous with their additional wiring. So first I'm going to do is start with pulling a little bit of this out. So it's there for us, making sure it's sticking out when I'm putting that on. Now I'm going to pull the wires out and get them connected up. And we have a black and a white wire in here. And from what I understand, it should be not white to white and black to black, but black to white and white to black. So I'm going to plug it in first and test it out. A little difficult with such white wires. I don't know how to get this to sit up there. The wire's going to keep fighting their way back down in there. Alright, as you can see, the LED light is working. So, correct setup. Alright, so I put some electrical tape over there just as a bit of extra security. We validated that it should be black to white on both for the connection. We have all the clips in, and now we're going to go ahead and put this in. Right. There we go. It's in there. Perfect. So now before I button any of this down, I want to put my fender liner in first to make sure I don't need to adjust this in. Alright, the fender liner is in, and over here where I cut it at, it looks pretty damn good if I may say so myself. And so now I want to get the screws in under here before taking off the tape over here. Alright, that's next. Alright, so I have the fender liner in. I got all the screws in, and now as you can see, let's get that. It's a pretty nice seal up on there already. So the tape is definitely going to add to that. So, oops. It's such a tight seal that I'm going to have to work to get my tape out of there. Let me hold on here. Alright, so I went with the tool along here and got it all pushed up against there. I think overall it looks pretty good. Step back from it. Looks good as well. The rear one, so one side done. And I'll try to see how much more I can get done today.